Last week's episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I didn't hate it or anything. It didn't sit well with me. Like I thought it was okay, and I think what happened was Daniel Bruhl's great acting really kind of owned the episode, and he was a very captivating character playing Zemo. He was great, but it was probably the weakest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. However, episode 4 so far, this is my favorite episode so far. I'm not saying it's the best one of the whole season because we haven't watched step 5 or 6 yet, but man, this episode turned things around. So let's talk about episode 4 called The Whole World is Watching, which is a very interesting title. And this continues the story of the hunt for Carly and the super soldier serum that she happens to have. And well, first of all, the episode opens with a very interesting flashback of events that happened after Civil War, but before the snap. So it's basically it's Bucky in Wakanda, and they did some kind of ritual or something to sort of erase his, I guess, his inner anger or whatever you want to call it, like that bloodthirstiness he had as a super soldier, and or whatever you want to call it, the brainwashing, the Hydra brainwashing, and that was pretty cool lore. Again, things that happened after Civil War. This whole series is a sequel to Civil War. Even though it takes place after Endgame, it's still really tied into Civil War. So this episode had everything. This episode furthered the plot. It had great performances. It had some really great action scenes, and it had some very great character development. For example, I still, as you're watching the episode, you don't really trust Zemo at all. And I was wondering if he was the one that was behind the Flag Smashers, but they kind of throw that at you, like, okay, is this guy the secret boss, and this and that, and then on top of that, you've got like the whole story with Carly. They do manage to eventually find her and the Flag Smashers, and there's this really awesome conversation between Sam and Carly that they have, and they kind of find a commonality. He kind of, in a way, psychologizes her and makes her realize that, I agree with what your goals are, just not the way you're doing them because you're killing innocent people. And it kind of goes towards that whole Marvel humanizing villains, and, they always do this. DC villains seem to be a lot more ruthless, like Joker and Darkseid. Like, these villains have no moral compass in many ways. But Marvel villains, a lot of them tend to be a little bit more deep. And that's not how it always is in the comics. Obviously, we're talking about like the MCU here. Because, they've kind of humanized some characters here and there. But this character of Carly Morgan, is... I like this character a lot because she's interesting. There's things said in this episode like about corporations and kind of the fact that the wealthy suppress the poor, which is very true, I believe, and discussing a lot about sort of her mentality. And Sam's like, look, like I get it, but this is not the right way. This is not the right way. Like Mandalorian, this is not the way. And she kind of gets through to him, but then the U.S. agent has to break in and ruin it. And then they have the scene where Zemo shoots her and takes and smashes the super soldier serum, which kind of eliminates the whole idea of him being, of him wanting more super soldiers. Like, he did not want any more super soldiers, right? And, then you have the scene of U.S. agent going in there and, seeing the smashed super soldier serum syringes, but he took the last one. And he started, and the thing about this show is it's so well directed that you don't have to explain things to the audience. You don't have to overly explain things because actors can do it with their faces and directors can do it with their vision, okay? And so with U.S. Agent, right, that he's thinking about taking the super soldier serum. He's thinking about really becoming Captain America. And there's even a conversation he has with Isaiah Bradley about it. Like, they had this conversation. I really enjoyed. There was some good development in this episode, man. This thing really furthered the plot. Also, I had totally forgot that Power Broker is actually a character in the comics named Curtis Jackson. I totally forgot about that. I thought maybe Power Broker was a secret villain that hasn't been revealed yet, but he's a character from the comics, and I mean, that's old school Marvel, yo, and I popped because I had completely forgotten about that character. But it was very cool. Like, it was very cool that he was in there. But let me get back to what I was saying. So, and then he's involved in this whole thing. But let me get back to what I was saying. So he's talking to Isaiah. He's like, "Would you have taken the super soldier serum?" And then they both kind of agree, like, "Yeah, when we were in Afghanistan, we won a bunch of medals and whatnot, but it doesn't matter because people died. And if we had the super soldier serum, we could have saved lives, and that's very, very poignant. It was a very poignant point. And even they admitted that, they did things, that John Walker and Isaiah did things that were, not really ethical. You see what I'm saying? And so I love this because this idea, this storyline of, like, in this show, like, this show kind of really paints the picture that's very, I don't want to say woke, because that word is not really, doesn't have a very positive connotation right now, but the show knows what's up. Like, the show questions the corporations, the show questions the military, the show questions what the military has done in the past, and whether or not it's an ethical thing, whether or not it's actually, a thing that really, like, if they, like, some of their actions might not necessarily be the best for people. See what I'm saying? And I like that. I really, really thought that was very good. And so you know what he's thinking. He's thinking about taking that super soldier serum because he's worried about becoming like Carly. But then Isaiah's like, well, what about Steve Rogers? He took it. He's a good guy. But the U.S. agent, he's not necessarily a terrible person. But he, and when he got into a fight with the Wakandans is when he kind of realized, like, damn, I didn't even lose to a super soldier. So he obviously wants the edge. They're building it up to where he wants the edge. And so with the U.S. agent, he's not Steve Rogers. And that's kind of the whole story here, that he's not Steve Rogers. And maybe him with the super soldier serum is going to be a problem. Maybe he's going to be the real villain of the series, even though he's not. He's done good things in the past, right? We know this. He has good intentions based on the fact that he's questioning what he did in Afghanistan. He's still a very deep character. Same thing with Carly. And by the way, when Carly called Sam's sister and was like, hey, I got to talk to this guy. Can I trust him and all that? With Sam relating her to his sister, that was good stuff, and I was kind of wondering, like, what this whole storyline with his sister, where this was going to go. Like, throughout the last few episodes, I was like, okay, is she going to actually do something? Are the villains going to kidnap her? And the villains basically threatened Falcon's nephews, like his family, and that was, but not in a way like they want to hurt them necessarily, more so to get his attention, to meet up and whatnot, because when they tried to talk, U.S. agent came in and ruined it, which he tends to do a lot in this show. So that was good stuff, really, really good stuff this week. Last episode did not sit well with me. Does not a terrible one, but this episode so far, this episode is my favorite one. God, this episode was so good. And then at the end, when they had that confrontation with the Flag Smashers and they got like the knife fight going on, and Isaiah gets knocked out, like it's implied that he might be dead, and U.S. agent snaps and then goes after them, and then he gets the one dude down, and then he takes the shield and he's like smashing him with the shield. That's vibranium, bro. I don't care how much of a super soldier you are, dog. That is vibranium. And he pretty much kills the guy in the middle of the streets, yo. It felt like some kind of, I don't know if y'all agree with me on this one, but it felt like a real world event, like a real world tragedy that would lead to something bigger, and it probably will in the MCU. Dude, when he killed the guy and the way that they cut to like his hand shaking with the blood and everything, man, I was just shocked, bro. I was just sitting there. Like, this guy wants to be Steve Rogers, but he's no Steve Rogers, which is what I told y'all was going to be the case back like 4 episodes ago at the beginning, or episode 2. And look at this. Look at this shit. It's crazy. It's fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic, yo. As far as, not his actions, but I mean as far as this episode, because shit actually happened. It was interesting. It was just phenomenal writing, with this character and his slow descent into madness, and that's where he's going. The pressures of being Captain America, and seeing people die, and it gets to you, and this guy did the wrong thing. Definitely did the wrong thing. The last shot of this episode, when they show him there with holding the shield, with the blood dripping, and they have like the camera panning around, you see those people with the cell phones, and it's going to be a viral video, like, dog, like, this show is now, they turned it up to high gear. We've got 2 episodes left after this one, and they have cranked this show up to full gear, homie. I'm in. I mean, they were losing me a little bit because last episode was kind of weird, very weirdly edited, even though I love Daniel Bruhl. But this one, man, they sucked me right back because now we have a lot of things going on, a lot of chess pieces moving. The Wakandans are involved. You know, Falcon and Bucky have to deal with the U.S. agent snapping and the super soldier serum and the temptation there. And then Isaiah Bradley and his injuries and just, man, it was good shit, man. This was the best episode so far, in my opinion. This was the best one. You know, I think. Anyways, did y'all agree with me? Do you think it was the best episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier yet? A lot of things happened. You know, this will be a very talked about episode this week. And it's a very mature show. You know, it's a show that really feels right. It feels like it is what it's supposed to be. And it does feel like a sequel to Civil War in a good way, in a positive way. Not a bad sequel, a very good sequel. One that is worthy of being a sequel to that great movie. What'd you think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon.